In this video, I want to go behind the scenes of the Labyrinth, the latest release from Casefile Presents. And on that show, I worked on post-production as well as I wrote the music for the series. The podcast is available now on Spotify, so go and check it out. There'll be links in the description below. Hi, it's Mike from Casefile and Casefile Presents. On this channel, I'm releasing videos on podcasting, so if you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe. We met Ottavia McHenry through her podcast, Missing Alisa. She was a co-producer and a host on that series. And our Casefile host knew that he wanted to work with Ottavia in the future, whenever she had another idea for another podcast. And, that was only a matter of time. Ottavia came back with an idea for investigative series about missing person in Arizona National Park in America. And the premise was that 44-year-old Jeanette Castrejon went on a camping trip with her parents, and the three of them drove to Chiricahua Mountains in Arizona. They camped at Rustler Park, which is like a remote camping site, 8,000 feet of altitude. And they were about to set up for a picnic there, but Jeanette disappeared that day. And Ottavia wanted to speak to the police, to the family, to people involved in the case, as well as investigate other cases of missing persons in America's national parks. To us, the plan sounded fantastic, and Ottavia got to work. It took a lot of time and effort to bring that show to the finish line. Ottavia started in 2018. When it comes to recording, there were lots and lots of different locations. So Ottavia was recording telephone interviews, she was recording people outside on different locations, inside in different spaces. And that required quite a bit of work from her in terms of logistics, as well as archiving and cataloging the audio. Ottavia recorded her narration at her home, and that also came with some pros and some cons, but on that later. Ottavia created her episodes in Descript. Descript is a audio/text software-based editing program, and it's a great program for podcasters who don't know much about audio production, because by editing text, you edit audio at the same time. It transcribes your audio into text. The team at Descript, they upgrade the software all the time. However, I want to have my stems, my audio in Pro Tools, in my templates. And Labirynth was actually the first project that I've done working with Descript. So that was done before Pseudosite. And at that time, I didn't know how to export the episode import into my Pro Tools session. I've learned that later on Pseudosite, so you can watch these videos. But what I've done for Labirynth was I've exported the episodes as a wave, just one stereo wave, and then I was cutting out the clips and placing them on individual tracks in Pro Tools. So that was a bit of work. Apart from that, during editing, I had a lot of clips. There was a lot of clips with varied audio quality. Like I said, Ottavia was recording people in many different locations, and some of them were quite noisy, especially ones that were recorded outside. Now, in that case, I always go with intelligibility over quality. So I will be cutting lows, I will be cutting highs, boosting the mids, doing anything to make sure that the listener understands what is actually being said on the clip. over how it sounds. And the fact that I'm a non-native English speaker helps, because that's the sort of point of view I'm coming at these clips. I want to understand, I want to hear clearly what's being said to understand the story. So that's my approach when I'm editing clips with varied audio quality. On top of that, there was a lot of work to do with pacing as well as leveling of volumes. I talked with Ottavia about the music and vision for the music, and her idea was she wanted that kind of western/country feel to the show. And at the beginning, I was struggling with it a little bit, and the first ideas weren't what she had in mind. And I think it's just Casefile influence. I just do Casefile every day and music for Casefile, so that kind of influenced my decisions. But I stepped back and I've done my research. And what I've done was I limited myself to just a few textures, just a few instruments, steel guitars, bass, kind of flute-like pads, and only used those when I was writing music for the show. That worked really well. Ottavia was happy with the result. But the music sort of sits in the background. It's like Casefile. You don't really notice it much, and you've got to listen on headphones to notice all the details. The one thing that I struggled when it came to music was the theme. So I just couldn't get it right. I was spending way too much time on it. So what I've done was I scouted royalty-free websites, and on one of them, I think it was Audio Jungle, I found a piece of music that I thought it will be perfect for the series. The others liked it, so I got the right license. I bought that piece and I've used it. I've used it for the trailers, I used it on intro, I used it on outro, and I've got no shame about it. It works great. Mix was a tough job because there was many different clips with varied audio quality, varied loudness, that kind of stuff. And what I usually do, my approach is that I use the score, the music, as a bed to feel these low frequencies. And I found that it works extremely well for these kind of shows. The other thing was the narration. So Ottavia recorded her narration at her home, and that was because of lockdowns and some other things. And I was like, yeah, fine. As long as you're comfortable there. But soon enough, when she started sending me the files, I noticed several issues. So the gain was quite low on her recordings, and the noise floor was quite high. So obviously when I pull the volume up, so did the hiss. Now when you run the noiser on these kind of clips, you're cutting the top end, and essentially with each pass of that denoiser, you are making the dialogue, the narration, dull, without any top end or brightness. And in the end, I kind of compromised. So rather for trying save that natural sound, I went for more radio-like broadcasting sound for the narration, a little bit more compressed, and ideally I would go with the natural, but everyone liked how it sounded in the end, and so that worked. But for the next one, I will definitely push for booking a vocal booth or a studio, some kind of room for recording the narration. We also had some Spanish. Some of it we dubbed on top of the original, and some of it we left as it is, just to give that authenticity to the series. We had 4 drafts in total, and throughout my work I was getting QC notes from Ottavia and Casefile host. We've done a bunch of pickups and re-records, and it was pretty straightforward process. It was all about organizing it well. I started the work on the series in July 2020, and it got pushed a few times. Then I finished it in December 2020, so 8 months before the actual release. But I did have another listen just before the release to check if, everything's all right. As usual, Paulina took care of the designs, and together with Otavia came up with a fantastic artwork and overall style of the show. So Paulina created the website, the thumbnails, the artworks for the series, and the Labyrinth was at the center, was the centerpiece of all graphical assets. The release was organized by us and Spotify, and from our audio and graphical assets, we've created various trailers. We've also run ads on Casefile feed. There were several lessons I learned when working on this series. First was, when possible, always book a vocal booth or a studio for recording the narration. It's just easier to work on it, and it sounds so much better in the end. 2 was, I know when to push myself when it comes to music, but when I'm struggling and I know there are strict deadlines, I have to look for other creative solutions, such as finding a theme on royalty-free websites. And I have no shame about it. Editing took a long time, but that was not a series that I worked full-time on, and there were quite a few delays. Even when I finished, it was months before the final release. So, I learned that patience is virtue, at least sometimes. The biggest thing was that before the release, I moved to this place. We moved to this new house, and I was able to set up this room as my studio. I've treated this room acoustically. I've upgraded a few tools, and what worried me was that the whole series was mixed in my old setup. Now when I listen back to it, what if the mix is not up to new standards and I have to rework everything? So that was one of the worries of mine. But when I listened to the series before the release, in this new setting, with my new tools, it sounded alright. I was happy with the finals. There wasn't that many tweaks that I had to do, and pretty much what I've done last year, and that's what we released in August. So yeah, that was a big relief. But it was a great project. I'm grateful that I was able to help out on the series, and fingers crossed there will be season 2 in the future. The Labyrinth is available now, all episodes for free on Spotify, so go and check it out. But that's it for today. I'm Mike Migas. If you enjoyed the content, hit the like button, check the rest of my channel, share, like, subscribe, and I'll see you later.